All right, hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. I'm Thomas, and I do educational material on this channel. And today is video number 106 of the review of the reciprocal system of theory. This theory of everything was originated by Dewey B. Larson back in the 20th century, and the basic idea is that it is a universe of motion. The universe is not made out of matter. It's not made out of energy. It's made out of motion. Matter and energy are, in fact, just different kinds of motion. And motion is defined by Larson as the relationship between space and time. Space and time are reciprocals of each other, kind of meaning that they are the same as one another, except they are inverted. There's an inversion between space and time. And space and time have the same general qualities. Space and time are both 3 or more dimensions, and they are both progressing or flowing. Time is always getting later and later. Space is always getting farther and farther apart. And that's what Larson generally calls clock time and clock space. And the 3-dimensionality or more is what Larson calls coordinate time and coordinate space. And then space and time are also in only discrete units. There's 1 unit, and there's 2 units, and there's 3 units, and there's 4 units, but there's not 3.43 units. You either have 1 or you don't have any. And 1 unit of space in 1 unit of time is the speed of light. And the speed of light in the universe of motion is the default position, or the neutral, or the null point, or the origin of this universe. Half of the universe is moving faster than the speed of light, which contradicts Einstein, who said that the speed of light is the maximum speed of the universe. He's referring to the half of the universe that's moving slower than the speed of light. Larson calls that sector 1, or the material sector. But sector 2, or the cosmic sector, is the half that is moving faster than the speed of light. And there is a semi-permeable boundary there, which is the speed of light. And that is, the midpoint. Now, sector 1, phenomena, chemistry, physics, matter, atoms, grow by aggregation, bonding, until they get to their most complex level, which is the DNA molecule, which contains a few billion atoms per molecule. Then from there, at that point, the DNA molecule becomes eligible to be controlled by a cosmic unit from sector 2. And that cosmic unit then can take control of the material unit of the DNA molecule. And Larson generally refers to that as the spinning apparatus. And that spinning apparatus then takes control of the sector 1 unit and turns it into what Larson calls the life unit. So life is a combination of a material and cosmic sector units, and in the right proportion, in the right configuration. And anything that is life then has a lifetime. So there's a certain time that this entity lives. And then and that starts out with really the single-celled organism. And then this single-celled organism develops and evolves over time, and eventually gets to its most complex level, which Larson says is the intelligent human being. And at that point, the intelligent human being becomes eligible to be controlled overall by an entity from Sector 3. Now, Sector 3 is what other people might be calling God, or the gods, or goddesses, or the numinous, or the religious, or the spiritual. And at that point, the Sector 3 entity, this might be what Larson is referring to when he's just talking about the speed of light, this boundary region where you have 1 unit of time per 1 unit of space, and everything just cancels out and it just turns into one. And this unit of area of oneness that Larson calls Sector 3 then communicates with the intelligent human being under the guise of things such as ESP, intuition, scientific insight, religious revelation. And these communications that we get from Sector 3 are always correct. But our ability to decode these messages is very limited, because the human being, the intelligent human being, is kind of analogous to the single-celled spiritual organism, or the single-celled numinous organism. And so we're not yet quite adept at decoding these messages, especially the ones that are more complicated or complex, like the religious revelations and the scientific insight. The normal everyday intuition, we have a better chance to decode those messages. Okay, now we are in chapter 26 here, Outlook for Communication. So this is his book, his final book, that's called Beyond Space and Time. It has to do with Sector 3 and, how we deal with Sector 3. And we are in chapter 26 called Outlook for Communication. So he's discussing these Sector 3 entities, and they're communicating with us at Sector 2, the life unit. And here we have we have issues in terms of how we are able to decode these messages, and and he kind of indicated that, we need to be patient with this. It may take a long time for us to be able to, systematically decode these messages, and also that, we kind of have to make a delineation between Sector 2 communications and Sector 3 communications. And these things are all things that we're working on. This is the underlying goal of life, and really of the universe in general, is for beings such as intelligent humans to be brought up to the Sector 3 level, or really level 3 is what he calls it. An intelligent human being under the influence of Sector 3, he calls that level 3. Now, I did make a mistake. We are in chapter 26. That's called The Road Ahead. Okay, we just began this chapter, and I'm going to take over, let Larson take over from here. Okay, from the foregoing, it can be seen that the situation in the philosophical field is by no means unique. Now, he's discussing how philosophy and religion even though they're seen to be kind of separate, that they're really working um, in the same realm, and that philosophy is is really kind of like the he compares it to science. That the philosophy part is really kind of like the science, where the religion part is like the engineering, applied science. So he's saying that, religion is applied philosophy, is kind of what he's getting at here. And this kind of echoes a lot of the themes that he talks about throughout this book, and that he's really trying to put religion onto a scientific footing, so that it becomes more of a systematic thing, and that helps to eliminate a lot of the extraneous matters from religion, such as the arcane rituals, and just the things that are not at the core of the religion, that the sector 2 parts of religion that are not concerned with sector 3. Okay, so getting back, starting from the beginning again, from the foregoing, it can be seen that the situation in the philosophical field is by no means unique. The same considerations are controlling in the physical field. Indeed, they apply to the theoretical branch of every field of knowledge. Theory cannot be put into practice until objectives are designated. Assignment of philosophical goals is a function of religion. This statement will be challenged, but the objectors cannot deny that some agency must set the goals. Those who suggest that they could be set by some non-religious agency are simply offering a substitute for religion, actually nothing but religion under another name. One, for instance, tells us that ethics can disclaim all essential connection with religion. But in the same discussion, he concedes that values are arbitrary as long as they stand by themselves, and that actions receive their value from a command or a directive to which the person is committed. Now, let us ask, what are we to call the agency that commands and directs the most important aspects of human life? Isn't this about as good a thumbnail description of religion in general as we could want? Those who wish to divorce their value systems from religion are simply transferring the primary functions of religion to some other agency, thereby making that agency a religion, or at least a quasi-religion, regardless of what name they may attach to it. As noted earlier, a moral code is not self-enforcing. It contains no directive that it be obeyed. Such a directive is obviously needed if the code is to have any practical effect. As that same philosopher points out, and one of the basic functions of religion has been to meet this need. The findings of this work now provide a directive independent of religion by showing that compliance with the code, the ethical code, is essential to the fulfillment of the purpose for which the human race exists. But this is not inconsistent with the religious explanations of the origin of the command, and each individual is at liberty to accept either or both. It is now evident that the obstacle that has hitherto prevented the formulation of a consistent and workable theory of ethics was a lack of clear understanding of the nature of the moral objective. As long as ethical judgments were based on criteria, such as human happiness, not related to the true objective, and not more than ethically neutral at best, it was impossible to set up any satisfactory ethical system. But now that a clear and unequivocal definition of the objective is available, there is no longer anything standing in the way of working out the provisions of the true moral code, the code of Sector 3, in full detail. This knowledge of the details of the moral code will provide the basis for a new and more consistent theory of values. There is a rather general agreement that this is one of the basic needs of the present era. Some of the statements quoted in the earlier pages were taken from the published report of a conference on values held at MIT in 1957. An idea of the gravity with which the participants in this conference viewed the value problem can be obtained from the following excerpts from the preface to the report. So, quoting the report, this volume springs from the belief first that the ultimate disease of our time is valuelessness. Second, that this state is more crucially dangerous than ever before in history. And finally, that something can be done about it by man's rational efforts. Okay, that's it. The state of valuelessness has come to its present dangerous point because all the traditional value systems ever offered to mankind have in effect proved to be failures. The cure for this disease is obvious. We need a validated, usable system of human values, values that we can believe in and devote ourselves to, because they are true rather than because we are exhorted to believe and have faith. In the light of the new information that has been developed in this work, it is evident that this critical statement falls into the same error that has produced the results that it deplores. That is, it speaks of human values where it should be concerned with moral values. Moral values are human values, to be sure, but not all human values are moral values. In fact, most value decisions that are made by human beings involve economic values or social values rather than moral values. From the standpoint of the ultimate destiny of the human individual, only the moral value judgments are relevant. Lack of recognition of this fact is the reason why, as pointed out in the foregoing statement, all the traditional value systems have in effect proved to be failures. They were and are failures because they have no solid foundations. The efforts of the philosophers to replace authoritarian morality with value systems based on empirical premises have been nothing more than futile intellectual exercises. None of these systems gets any significant amount of attention outside philosophical circles because it is obvious that the values thus derived are not the kind of values that we can believe in and devote ourselves to. As emphasized earlier, most human individuals have an intuitive understanding of simple moral principles, and they realize that pleasure, happiness, and the like are not the grounds on which an acceptable code of human conduct can be based. Our scientific analysis confirms the validity of this intuitive judgment, as it shows that the objectives defined by the hedonist philosophers are the objectives of Sector 2, the biological sector, rather than those to which the human race must subscribe if it is to be anything other than one more species of animal. Some supporters of the so-called naturalistic view of ethics, who recognize the incongruity involved in basing morality on hedonism, have tried to find a basis in human development or self-realization. The good or right, according to one expression of this view, is that which is in conformity with evolutionary development. But evolution, in the usual sense, is also a purely biological process. Of course, evolution could be redefined, but as one philosopher points out, if we define evolutionary development as change for the better, as one is tempted to do, the definition of good proposed will constitute a vicious circle. The definition of good proposed will constitute a vicious circle. Unlike these philosophical value systems, which have little actual moral content and a correspondingly minimal practical effect, the religious systems have had a profound impact on human life throughout recorded history. However, the true foundations for the principles of morality included in the religious teachings has not heretofore been recognized, and the organized religions have therefore been forced to rely on the power of authority. For thousands of years, this has sufficed to hold the rank and file in line, but now that more and more individuals in the advanced societies are reaching the point where they want to make their own decisions rather than accepting the word of authority, the religious value systems are left without any basis on which they can claim authenticity. Okay, I think we are going to stop it off here, and we will resume with chapter 26 of Beyond Space and Time next time. Thank you for tuning in, and hope to see you back next time. Have a great day.